Nobody falls in love on purpose. It just happens. In the middle of a rehearsal, across a crowded set, in the quiet space between one take and the next. And if the story of Dylan Wang and Shen Yue teaches us anything, it's that sometimes the universe doesn't ask for your permission before it rewrites your entire life. Before you keep reading, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because we cover the real stories behind your favorite celebrities, and you do not want to miss what's coming next. It started the way most great love stories do, completely disguised as something else. In 2018, two young actors were cast in what would become one of the most watched Chinese dramas of the decade, Meteor Garden. Dylan Wang, fresh-faced and still finding his footing in the industry, stepped onto that set with everything to prove. Shen Yue, already beloved for her role in A Love So Beautiful, walked in carrying a quiet kind of confidence that only people who've already been through the fire tend to have. Neither of them had any idea they were walking straight toward each other. The original Meteor Garden is a legendary piece of Asian entertainment history, a story that had already captured hearts across generations long before Dylan and Shen Yue were even old enough to watch it. So when the 2018 remake was announced, the pressure was enormous. The casting had to be perfect. The chemistry had to be undeniable. And somehow, against all the odds and all the industry chatter, when Dylan Wang and Shen Yue stood in the same room for the first time during production, something shifted. People on set noticed it. The cameras noticed it. You could feel it coming through the screen before a single episode had even aired. What makes their first meeting so remarkable is how ordinary it must have seemed in the moment. Two professionals, introduced through work, running lines and blocking scenes, and doing all the practical, unglamorous things that come before anyone gets to say, "Cut, that's the one." But there is something about the particular alchemy of playing lovers, of being asked day after day to look at someone like they are your entire world, that breaks down walls faster than almost anything else in life. Dylan had to look at Shen Yue like she was everything. And somewhere along the way, the line between the character and the man began to blur. People who worked closely with them during filming have spoken about the energy between them as something that was simply impossible to manufacture. You can teach an actor their lines. You can teach them their marks. You can't teach them that. When Dylan looked at Shen Yue, even in the early days of filming when they were still strangers building a working relationship, there was a quality to it that directors dream about and casting agents spend careers trying to find. It wasn't performance. It was recognition, the quiet, slightly terrifying feeling of seeing someone and knowing, somewhere deep and wordless, that they are going to matter to you. For Shen Yue, the experience of stepping into the role of Dong Shankai alongside Dylan must have been its own kind of revelation. She is not an actress who performs emotion, she lives it. Those who have watched her work across multiple projects understand that what she brings to a role isn't technique alone, it's a vulnerability that feels almost dangerous in its openness. Meeting Dylan, a young man with intensity behind his eyes and a disarming kind of earnestness, must have made the story they were telling together feel less like fiction with every single passing day. The set of Meteor Garden became a world unto itself. Long hours, shared meals, the particular intimacy of knowing someone's schedule better than your own, of seeing them tired and silly and serious and brilliant all within the span of a single afternoon. This is the environment in which Dylan Wang and Shen Yue truly met each other, not just as colleagues, not just as co-stars playing iconic roles, but as two human beings with no particular defenses left standing between them. The work had stripped all of that away, and what remained was something that neither of them, perhaps, had quite bargained for. Fans watching the drama as it aired picked up on it immediately. There is a reason the ship named Dishan took on a life of its own almost instantly, because audiences are not foolish. They can feel the difference between two actors doing their jobs and two people navigating something real beneath the surface of every scene. Every lingering glance that went a beat too long. Every smile that started before the director called action and lasted a breath after they called cut. Viewers collected these moments like evidence of something they desperately hoped was true. What Dylan himself has said in various interviews over the years paints a picture of a young man who was genuinely unprepared for what working alongside Shen Yue would do to him. He has spoken about her with a kind of careful reverence that you rarely hear from someone who is simply describing a colleague. There is weight in the way he chooses his words when she comes up, a deliberateness that tells you he understands, even now, that she is not a subject to be handled carelessly. She changed something in him. The set of Meteor Garden was where that change began. For Shen Yue, a young woman who had already proven herself before Dylan ever entered the picture, the experience seemed to awaken something equally significant. Here was someone who matched her in commitment, in intensity, in the quiet seriousness with which both of them approached their craft. In an industry that can be relentlessly shallow, finding a person who operates from the same depth is not a small thing. It is, in fact, everything. The moment everything began is not a single moment, really. It is 100 small moments stacked on top of each other until their combined weight became impossible to ignore. It is Dylan watching Shen Yue nail a difficult emotional scene and feeling something tighten in his chest that had nothing to do with admiration for a co-star. It is Shen Yue laughing at something he said between takes and Dylan thinking, without meaning to, that he would very much like to keep making her laugh. It is two people who came to a set to do a job and found, somewhere in the middle of doing it, that they had accidentally handed each other something irreplaceable. That is how the story of Dylan Wang and Shen Yue begins.